What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. Thanks for joining me again for another Movies with Pride. It's Pride Month, and Tig Notaro and her wife directed a movie called Am I Okay? It actually directed this. It has a 2002 date, but it's one of those independent films that nothing ever happened with, and then Max was like, oh, we can grab that and we can drop it during Pride Month and there'll be new content for us. Look at that. So that's what they did. It's not really a new Max original. It was at Sundance. So this is finally just coming around 2 years later. Stars Dakota Johnson, Kiersey Clemens, Steve Zahn, Jermaine Fowler, whose career is just looking down. I mean, he is not choosing great films right now with his, I don't know, new agent, bro. New agent. He's also the star of the new Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead remake that already exists and is out for you to watch. If you didn't know that that was a thing, it got like a small theatrical release where it was critically panned, and then it became a BET Plus exclusive. So I don't have, I'm not subscribing to it just to watch that film. It'll come somewhere at some point. I'm sure I'll get to see the atrocity that is the remake of that film. Just like what did we get the previous year? White Men Can't Jump and House Party. I'm sure it's gonna be a winner. Anyway, and there's a girl whose name I honestly can't pronounce, and I'd be relying on AI to do it. But Simui something, I'm not going to butcher that. So she works a lot with Alex Garland. She was in Ex Machina pretty prominently. Annihilation. I've heard she's in Civil War, so yeah, it kind of rounds out the cast. Tig Notaro does pop up, and it is exactly the kind of film that you would expect Tig and her wife Stephanie to direct. It is very sort of, it's funny that Tig didn't write this because it's very much got that sort of dry delivery to a lot of the humor in it, which is perfect for Dakota Johnson because she's ready for that dry delivery. But it's about two best friends played by Dakota Johnson and Samoa. I don't know. I feel terrible. These people need to be in interviews so that I can hear them and then hear their names pronounced correctly. Everybody needs to do the Tonight Show at some point so that Jimmy Fallon can go with the name, and then I can be like, okay, what did he say? All right, let's do it. And they are best friends, and Dakota Johnson is, American with an American accent. Her best friend is American with a British accent because she used to live there and moved when she was a teenager and hasn't been back since. They both work jobs, and the best friend is offered a chance to go to the London office and go to London and create an office for her company. So suddenly these two best friends that know each other's food orders and beverage orders and stuff like that are just sort of that tight when it comes to being best friends, are faced with the prospect of having to live apart. And she's gotten a heads up because it'll take a while before this thing happens. The move is not we need you to move there this week, tomorrow, actually. It's not one of those movies. For some reason, they've given her a 6-month heads up that they are planning on doing this, which also kind of feels like either extremely good planning or that every other movie has failed to do that, because I feel like every other movie just always sends people immediately. They're like, you need to leave now. We decided last night we're going to open a London office and you need to say yes right in this moment, and we're shipping you off within the hour. We already have your kids in the car. It's just, Like, they don't mess around with the plot. Like, they're just like, we need to advance this plot super fast. So she sort of has a little bit more time to deal with this pending separation. And while she's doing that, she has a boyfriend who she like doesn't want to have any physical contact with. And then through this revelation, she kind of comes up with the idea that Dakota Johnson comes up with the idea that she probably is a lesbian. And what does that mean for her, and the exploration of that. And it's funny because her friend is like totally just accepting of that. There's never like a wow, really? You feel that? It's like she's not shocked at all. She maybe just jumps right in with, she get on the apps. You know, you got to figure this out. Like, and she's like, well, what if I get on the apps, and then everyone will know. And her friend's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. So that you can attract people, you know? So, which is like a very real concern. It's like, what do you get on the apps? And then everybody will know. And it's like, true. That is the thing. I think a lot of people think about that. And that's why you get a whole lot of people who don't have headshots on dating apps. Anyway, so it has a lot of really smart commentary on things. Kiersey Clemons comes in as maybe she's exploring this too. Maybe she doesn't really know. Maybe she is. Maybe she isn't. I don't know. She kind of just like walks this line of being like a potential love interest for Dakota Johnson, but also maybe like a potential heartbreak for Dakota Johnson. We don't really know. You'll find out by the end of the movie. The movie is not very long. It's under 90 minutes, but it's very much this exploration of who am I as a person? What is my sexuality? What is it that I like? Have I been trying to do the wrong thing this whole time? The scene where Dakota Johnson like does a backflip off the bed basically to avoid being kissed by her potential, it is her boyfriend, but like, they don't do anything, and her best friend keeps giving her crap for that. Like, you guys haven't, and he's just like, no, we've never have. And he doesn't even like, I don't even think he goes in to kiss her. He just like sits next to her on the bed, and she feels nervous about it, and he's like, I'm gonna go because you basically just Mr. Beaned off of the bed to try to get away from me. So, yeah, it definitely gives her pause in the, wait a minute, then why did I do that? Why am I so nervous about this? That this guy that I've been seeing for a while, who just hung a painting for me in my house, you know, that I had to fly off the bed to avoid it. So there's some humor here. I love Tig Notaro, I do, as a comedian. And I think Stephanie's popped up in things before too. They've worked together before, and usually on camera. This is an interesting thing for them to do, to work together as a directorial team. And it's a nice experiment. This is their directorial debut. Singularly, I believe, and togetherly. So, if you like Tig Notaro, you will probably have a better chance of liking this humor. For me, it felt like a Tig Notaro movie that I wanted Tig Notaro to be in, and it wasn't Tig Notaro. So, that is what I would have wanted out of this film. I think Tig has actually pretty good on-screen presence. I really liked her show, One Mississippi. So between that and Dakota Johnson, it's not that I don't like Dakota Johnson. I don't want it to feel like the year of anti-Dakota Johnson, because I didn't think, if you check out my Madam Webb review, I pretty much said that she's not the reason the movie fails. But here, it's not that she's the problem. It's just like, I'm sitting there looking at Tig Notaro, and I'm like, why aren't you in this role? Do you feel like you're too old now? Well, then just change a little bit of the script and make it so that it's age appropriate for you. You know, maybe use a little bit of hair color, get some of that gray out of there, and make it yours again. I don't know. It's just, when it's written for somebody like that, and then somebody else comes along, you can kind of feel it. You can kind of feel like this is something that probably Tig Notaro would have done back in the day. So might have been fun to see them as a couple do it on Tig and Stephanie and be the best friends in this film. Anyway, I can see why this kind of languished a little bit, but it languished almost too much to where you feel like there's something wrong with it, when there's really just nothing wrong with it. There's just nothing that's like, oh, we could put this out in theaters and it's going to get a lot of money. It's not going to get a lot of money. Dakota Johnson's not really a big box office draw, and the rest of the cast is not really big enough to draw anybody. So it is just how it is. I kind of see where this was going to go. I'm surprised that somebody like Roadside Attractions didn't pick this up and then try to put it in like 100 theaters and then have something for like VOD/streaming releases. But it's fine. It's okay. It's something I'm not really going to remember that much at the end of the year. It's set up very conversationally. We just kind of move from one idea to another idea, and sometimes the ideas work. But Tig and Stephanie didn't write the script, so they directed it. So this is sort of like this is written by someone else. It's not really on them. It's more of like their delivery direction. And like I said, the film it either is 90 minutes or it's like slightly under. So I don't know how much, I can't really get them on runtime. Like, how much shorter do I want this movie to be? 90 minutes is sort of like, if I'm complaining here, then it's poor. I don't think it's poor direction though. It's just maybe casting. There's something about this though that's missing, and it could be a little bit of everything. It could be a little bit of the script. It could be a little bit of the direction. It could be a little bit of the casting. It could be all three things. I think there's something here though, and I'm not totally. I wouldn't be scared to watch another film directed by those two, by Tig and Stephanie. So it's an interesting film for Pride Month because it is about the exploration of am I a lesbian? Is that the question for Pride Month? While everyone else is celebrating with rainbow colors around you, and you're sitting there and you're like, is this me? Is this my stop? Is this where so audio description was done by Deluxe, and it was narrated by Darren Rivets, who I thought was really nice. She had a very nice light tone throughout the whole film, which sort of matched the lightness and the humor, because this never really gets like super serious and depressing. Like, no one dies. It's like, it's not one of those things where they have like some like big fight and then we just get really emotional and just everybody's crying for 10 minutes. It's not that. So it is kind of light, it is kind of inconsequential, and the audio description sort of was nice to complement that. It also is a film that uses cell phones quite a bit, so audio description was totally welcome because people are texting each other, and I can't see that. So again, the audio description comes in clutch when you're trying to text people, and I actually know what the text messages are because they're actually hitting through in the audio description. So this is fine. It didn't reinvent the wheel. It's fine. I'm gonna give Am I Okay a B-. I think it's okay. It's an okay film. It just didn't blow my socks off. It feels kind of like a film that would have languished a little bit. I don't know, for 2 years. It feels like a film that would have been pushed out of 2023, Sometimes you get those films that, like, you hear that are being considered for awards, and then they get pushed back a year, and then you see them, and you're like, well, I understand why they escaped last year's awards consideration period. Could have been that, but 2 years is a bit unnecessary. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.